Army Regulation 73517, Property Accountability Accounting for the Library Materials. Headquarters Department of Army, Washington, D.C., 16 June 21st. Unclassified. Summary of changes. James M. Conville. Kathleen S. Miller. Army Regulation 7315. Effective 16th July 2021. Distribution Regulation of Electric Media and Total Regular Media in the United States Army. Chapter 1, General Purpose Reference Forms, Explanation, Abbreviation, Terms, Responsibilities. Responsible record management, record keeping requirement, inquiry request, policy, general accountability, non-accountability materials, and tangible library materials, library property, counting numbers, accountability officer receiving materials, property markings, identification, accepting donations, lost, damage, destroyed property. Restitution, inventory, distribution, limited library materials, fines, installation, clearance, commercial activities. Appendix is reference library property accounts, internal control of evaluation, table M1, library property accounting members 12, figure 2-1, sample accounting officer with appointment memorandum and glossary. Art purpose. Army libraries acquire level management material with a variety of forms, including physical and digital information, research with regulation prescribed by the headquarters of the Department of Army's policy and with procedures saying with the responsibility property account of the library material with identified account with the library material with convert covers tangible and intangible material with acquired with any sort of where the purchase, transfer or donated, instituted with the policy with the library property accounts, accountability officer with accepting donation, inventory control of the restitution for the loss of the damaged property, handling disposition library materials, reference A forms, appendix A, explanation briefly the terms, glossary, responsibility with the deputy, with the chief of the staff, the director of the library and army to develop policy accounting with the library material, the library and army will serve responsible officer for the acting on library materials accountability per Army Regulation 2597, see Army wide responsible for developing policy procedure with the monitoring account with the library materials, conduct staff with assistant visits with the library inspection with the ensure complying with the regulation, Army auditor with the general with the directs, U.S. Army Audit Agency responsible for the audits, Army Audit General with the extra with the broad responsible for the audit, library materials, and account with the defensive chief staff, chief war, ensure with the policy of the library property accountability with a consistent overall policy with the accountability committee with the Army committee with the Army service component committee with the direct reporting units, senior leader agency with activities will ensure that the compliance policy prescribed with the regulation to apply with the command activity delegate the authority to appoint an accountable officer for the library property board with the command agency with the activities and ensure with the timely frame, ensure with accountability, ensure with accountability of the library property have the access library management system and inventory control. Records 1. Management record keeping requirement of the record management with the requirement of all the record with the associated with the reports required with the regulations of the record with the retention scale with the Army with the RRSA with the detailed information with the record number the form with the reports located with the Army Record Information Management System at rims.army.mil. If any of the records form of the report with not concurrent with the address of the publisher with the currently with the Army Record Retention Schedule Army Record Information Management System, Record Retention Schedule A with a DPAM 25403 with a guidance for the regulation required for the library maintaining the catalog of the record with the library hold of the records containing the basic information each with the item of the collection or you with the active circulation inventory purpose. Records created in the house with local publication of unique material with acquired with the publisher content with the vendor with the third party vendors party providers. Once acquired with the records typically maintain electronic deliberated management systems with an integrated delivery system. Library serve with the platform records with the legal graphic elements such as the title of the author, publisher, the format, publication date, subject heading, column number, the quantity, possession, or barcode available, the location, date, catalog, quantity with the price of value, if known, with the purpose of the record management. The record shall include shelf lists of the reports collection with the inventory management records with the kept until the material of the permanently removed with the collection no longer to conduct business but no longer than 6 years and destroyed. 1-6 inquiry with a request email general inquiry with the U.S. Army Pentagon Headquarters DCS FSD1 or mbx.army.library-program mail. Send deviation required to the command headquarters Department of Army Department of Chief Deputy Chief of Staff G1 Technology Business Architect Integration Army Library Program DAP TB AL 300 Army Washington DC 203100300. Chapter 2 Policy with the General of the Regulation apply with the going with the digital physical information resource of the material of the compromise of the library collection of the equipment finished with the shelf with the non-collection item of the library space with the non-covered with the recs and purpose of the regulation term of the books include with not only with the traditional format bounded with a printed page of the typically with the library collection include with a variety of physical and digital information resource required with the managed library, for example the audio video formats for the commercial publication resource with the license for the digital access with the additional with the term material with the resource with the property with the interchangeable with the books materials acquired with the Army Library collection of the U.S. government property most with the typical cost less than $100 per unit. However, the aggregated library collection with the represents with a significant investment. Library materials consider the durable property with the inventory control with the aggregate with the value of the collection with the nature of the library lending material with the expected with the return with the government Army Regulation 7355 Army Property Accountability Policy with the definition. Library property accounts consider the mission of the property account for the specific type of the stock record account. The establish support library mission of the Army Regulation 7355 requests that the established and active of the library property accounts will be sent with the command channel of the headquarters Department of the Army. Paragraph 2.4 accountability of the library property include with the tangible and intangible resource of the equip or by Army from any source of the where of the purchase or transferred or donated. Libraries require for the library property accountability officer of the library material with see paragraph 2 and 4 and 2.5 the library management system with the inventory control. See paragraph 2.11 the subhand received will not be used with the materials indefinitely lent to the individual's office of non-library books acquired with the office of the court outside of the library was not considered for the accountability of the library property to non-library property. Library books remain with the library property accountability under provision previous policy with the return of the library with the drop of the library property accountability transfer the disposition in accordance with the paragraph 212. Army Library Program recording with the need with the office of the books, with the internal use of the discords, with the development of the large office with the collection, will include with the online content of the subscription, with the maintained outside of the jurisdiction of the library, the collection and innovation with the non-professional, the managed, typically inaccessible, the individual, with the outside of the department organization without the form of the library, or the contact with the Army Library Corps and inquire with the established with the material with the donated with the library with the non-considered with the account with the library property with the government property on the list. They are accepted added to the library collection with no obligation to accept all of the donated items, all of the accountable of the library property with the Department of Defense Manual 4160.21. Removal of accountable material from the collection accountable to the office of the library property are authorized to withdraw all of the material of the collection due to the obscene with the damage of the space limitations. 2.2. Accountability and non-accountability material of the accountability of the library material of the following material of the accountability include the library collection printed book of the bound periodic with the technical reports, microfilm forms such as microfiche with the microfilm with an aperture with the cover of the manuscript of the archival collection, audio video formats including video games, two-dimensional or alert, three-dimensional object with the artifact, electronic libraries with the resource collection will include the ebook, e-journal with the purchase of the perpetual with the access license, non-accountable library material with the following material with the or consider the non-accountable with the unbound with the period with the newspaper, the magazine with the journal with the loose material with the library laboratory notebooks with the pamphlets with the electronic library resources of the collection will include the ebook, e-journal with the purchase of the subscription board license. Does not apply with the regulation, but it does not apply with the following non-library books with the officer collection with the material with the crowd with the shore with the officer with the library belong with the requisition office include with the text and class room with the material with the purchase with the issue with the student with the Army regulations with the material with the two with the unit property book officer with the count with the book value with $100 or more with the deployment of the material with include with the book audio video material with the combat area peace operation crisis with emergency situation. Reference book C authorized with modified with a table legal relation according to the medical unit with the Army Regulation 4061. Legal research material with the Army Regulation 27001. Army Art Central Collection within the Historical Property Museum Policy Pieces. Archive of the reference book with the Army Museum Collection. Army Regulation 87020 with the religious book purchase with the chaplainship with the Army Regulation 1651. Software visual information products. Army Regulation 251. Department of Army Publication blank forms. Army Regulation Regulation 25.1.25.30. Intangible library material of the library of the purchase of the license of the commercial service of the intangible include the ebooks of the e-journal over the online with the digital contact with the library's micro over the copyright with the permission of the performance right with the intangible show on the reach over the license for the specific day with the subscription for the ease of the access of the ease of the library does not renew a license with the license of the perpetual access with the enjoy over the need for over the annual subscription intangible library reach with the not physical the lens with the user with the cannot be lost with the damage over the crowd with the count depending on the license to the account of the intangible library material with the ebook control over the digital information and the consent with the account of the library purchase of the perpetual access of the rights over the content in an area over the library purchase of the perpetual of the access of the right of the digital online content with a one-time payment rather than a lease subscription model with effectively acquiring and enduring access with the need of the annual subscription of the perpetual with the license with the accountability of the government property license management as such. Non-accountable to the intangible library material with the license of the ebook, e-journal with the other digital information content with the not content with the accountable with the library purchase with the license with the access with the cease when the library does not renew the license, copyright information with the performance right with the generally purchased specific activity, specific duration, or the experiment of the activity complete with the most cases of the license with the not considered with the accountability property, accountability officer of the library property the following when with the managing accountability intangible library material with the catalog record with the maintained corner with the paragraph 1.5b with the material with the inventory according to the paragraph 211b. 2.4 library property accountability materials of the library property account with the library of the identifier with the property account number the accounts of the crowd with the all VA library with the library with the army with the sign with the library property account with the number of the law with the libraries except for the army medical libraries. Army medical department libraries are issued with the Department of Defense activity address code with the DoD AAC with the identifier with the library property account with the U.S. Army Medical Command with the headquarters of the regional with the health commands with the oversight with the Department of Defense. Army active address code for the commands with establishing a new account with the organization of the former library with the Mayflower with the procedure below. Command of the Army Command of the ACC and the direct reporting unit of the senior leader of the Army agent of the activity submitted with the request to summon the library property with the account with the number of the command channel with the headquarters department Army Deputy Chief of Staff Garrison 1 TBA 1 Army with the library program DAP of the TBA L 300 Army Library Pro Pentagon with the Washington DC 203100300 will identify with the name of the collection library with the sponsoring agent for the purpose of the library with the proposal with the funding with the managing library with the description and content of the proposed with the collection and identify with the librarian position assign the accountability officer with the inactive account with the library with the inactive with all of the property transfer with none of the property account with the otherwise with the disposition with the corner with the paragraph 212 the step of the closing with the balance to ensure with the accountability with the continue with the ensure with the following actions taken with the commander with the account Army Command ACCC direct reporting unit senior leader with the Army agent for the activity submitted with the request for activation library property account with the establishment with the regulation through the command channel with the headquarters department Army Chief of Staff G1 TBA1 Army Library DAP the TBA 300 Army Pentagon Washington DC 20310300300 identified with the name and location sponsoring of the region with the closing of the library with the estimate of the day of the closure of the description of the library collection the disposition plan access library materials stay with the how of the organization receive with the library shore with the mission and accept the level of continue with the library shore with the include the memorandum the unfitting of the library provide with the reference of the research support enter a library with a loan with the document delivery server the active with the collection with the request closing procedure with the coordinator with the terminal library with the inspection arm of the library program with the appropriate community with the region with the chief of the librarian with the before with the library closed with the library closed with ensure with the maybe phase with the during with the 12 month trial with the effect with the closing day with additional guidance to Army Regulation 25 to 97 and additional policy with the guidance for the establishment of the consolidated with the closing of the library property account membership of the appendix fee list of the active of the library property account numbers of the accountability officer with the 25 of the accountability officer the library property required with the must be for the formula with the writing with the appointment of the authority must be with the grade of coma or above the general schedule of the 15. The appointment now of the authority general has with broad jurisdiction over the governing organization, proper the appointment with the over the memorandum of the each of the C figure 2-1 with a copy of the memorandum of the provide accountability officer the Army the library program 60 days with the appointment. So we have grade Department of the Army memorandum person with the pound of the appointment order library property accounting officer. References Army Regulation 735 of the Property Accounting Policy 735-17 Accounting Materials Army Regulation 25-7 of the Library Program designated with the accountability of the officer library and the library name of the property accounting with the IAW Army Regulation 735-17 Accountability carries specific duties include the preparation made for the manager of the record of the library and for the financial liability assessed against any of the person who would fail with the negligent misconduct of the performance of the duties with such failure with the approximate with the loss of the government with the period with the appointment and identify with all the person or previous appointment of the hero and the signed signature of the appointing authority type of the name with a grade and branch and title. Accountability after the responsibility usually assigned with the library program with the 14 with the 10 with the job shape with the covers with the title 10 with the authority with the maybe delegated with the under with another 1410 librarian on the staff with the committee with the ACOM with the ACC with the direct reporting senior lead with the Army 18 with the activity with 1410 with the library may request the consumption with an appointment with another employee with accountability officer with accountability officer now with the contract with the Army regulations 7355 appointment accountability officer with the care with the direct with the responsibility with the library with the property with the account with the library with the accountable materials accountability officer responsible for the safeguarding the library with the two with the ensure with the accuracy with the catalog record with the maintain all of the documents record with the reports will leave with the laboratory inventory with the include receive with the gain the loss of the access sessions the ES sessions on hand bill with the transfer of the shipment the issue with the turn with the transfer the accountability with the accomplish Army regulations 7355 with the coverage chain with the attack record officer with the must occur within 30 days with the departure with the outgoing with the accountability officer same with the transfer the accountability with the record with the both with the outgoing and incoming accountability officer same with the statement of the Army regulations 7355 with the 5 with the outgoing officer with the accountability officer with the responsible for preparing with the inventory reports must reach on hand with the balance of the material with the type of the reconciliation with the accounting power of the department with the incoming accountability officer required formally except for the full accountability with the responsibility of the government owned library property to involve with the transfer of the accountability with the 2-6 receive with the library material with the accountability officer with the library property maintain with the record with the document with the receive with the on all of the library material for the library employee with the library assist with the develop with the internal with the tracking with the capability with the not provide with the accountability officer with the library property with the will with the retain with the order with the email the delivery record with the accountable officer of the library property to examine the documents accuracy with the direction with the result of the conflict including information verify with the item received with the correct with the item correct quantity with the show of the paper record with the Army regulation 25402 property marking with identification all after with the library property with the barcode with the label with the radio frequency identification with the tags with the identifier with the physical item with the edge with the collection senior stamp with the labeling physical item with the property U.S. Army with the library mailing address with the incur with the loss reduction with the strategy with the facility with the return into the library to loan with the found property with accept the donation with it accept and give it a donation actually with the director of the library program manager with the accountability offer the man accept the give of the donation according with the Army regulation 100 authorized with the accountability offer with the library property with the temporary with the custody with the donation with the material with the turn with the not to with the add the library inventory material with the donation the library include with the books with the items of the deposit with the library premise with the items of the library and solicit with the non-consolidated the library with the government property and the added with the except for the added with the collection added with the library connection with the donation with the disposition with the paragraph 212 of the library program means accountable also the library property do not guarantee that any and all of the donated items except for the added with the give of the collection donation on to go over the same selection process with the governor with the purchase of the library resource playing with the playing to with the donor library program into the accountable officer with the library property will reserve with the donor with the memory and say with the number of items donated with the format required for the library program means for the accountable also with the estimate value with the give of the donation income with the tax with the other purpose of this 2-9 loss for the damage or destroyed property loss for the library material of the maker with the items for the borrower with the customer the unreturned and with one of the material cannot be found with the inventory with the catalog identified with the beginning with the on the shelf with the not located with the repeated surface of which some of the loss might be due to theft with the impossible to distinguish between with the misplaced with the inaccurate with the material with accounting within a 1 year period of 5% of the loss of the total collection is still the nominal and acceptable rate with the unaccountable library inventory library program and with the account for the officer with the library property purge of the catalog with the record with the items of the known with the lost with the destroyed with the therefore for the fair aware with the tear with the less with the can to repair return to the collection see paragraph 211 see with the handling missing items see with the library program means with the and work accountable also with main class with the damage of the destroyed with the library property with the unreceived or serviceable the unserviceable material with the display with the paragraph 212 with the items previously lost with the later with the recovered with the return of the inventory condition permitting restitution. The replay for the preferred for the restitution with the most likely with the unacceptable except with the payments with the conduct with the financial transaction with the identifier with the copy with the satisfactory issue with the same item with the item with the same with the type of the man medium with the equal value with the determined the library ship with the acceptable with the replacement of the rates copy with the copyright of the material with the non-acceptable the purpose of the restitution with the existing financial payment with the replay for the loss of damage with the destroyed the item with the sum of the leverage account with the cost for the must coordinate with the financing officer with the domain for the terminated with the cash for the issue of the credit card with the acceptance of the reimbursement level of the damage property with the authorized of the library program manager or come with the office of the director of the determinative price of the item based on the fair market value of the not exceed the current price of the item with the record cash for the reimbursement of the major report loss of the item for the DA Form 1131 cash collection voucher of the DA Form 362 with the state chart of the collection of vouchers and if a customer does not voluntarily give the restitution act of the been initiated with done by the provision Army Regulations 735 of the 5 of the 8 Army Command ACC with the direct reporting commander of the team of the leader Army agent with the activity determined of the restitution cannot but the show did not be made with the library program with the will drive with the written statement to the effect. Original slave in time of the payments of made with law for the damage of the Army property do not constitute with the sale of the Army property to 11 of the inventory control of the inventory control of the library of the library management such with the library of the platform of the integrated with the library of the command Army command of the ACC with the direct reporting unit with the lead agents for the activity with the local of the library with the activity with the library management system with the either standard of will and share with the bench for the inventory library operator with the libraries with the enterprise with the desktop applications good with the spreadsheet with the basic with the database management system with the not designed with the manage the library inventory operations accountable officer with the library property the library management system and the catalog materials with the tracking with the collection with the addition with the deletion of the material with the type of the management circulation accountable officer with the library property with the run size some of the system inventory with the shelf reports of the shelf list or with the reports of the on-hand balance with the material with the type of the last annual with the maintain with the reporting audit purpose. Material inventory of the accountable officer of the library property recover the conduct of the inventory Army Regulations 735 of the 5 of the full inventory library collection recover the 1 term of the 3 year with the cycle of the base with the estimate with the 1 term of the collection with the inventory with the annual with the accountable officer of the library property with the with the system inventory shelf with the list reports with the facility inventory process with the discrepancy with the L with the discrepancy with the found with during the inventory records of the accountable officer of the library property with the Army library with the accountable officer of the library property with the mark of the items for the now found missing with the library system with the purchase missing items after 1 complete year with the loss reduction the strategy for the on-shelf with the reading with the spot with the check with the fine with the misled item with the encouraged with additional with the accountable off of the library property encouraged with the distribute with the check out and remainders over to do with the notice of the customer with the annual reporting accountable officer of the library property with the provide with the input annual report headquarters department Army per Army Regulation 25 and 97 of the data will include with the detail of the library collection of the property accountability disposition of the library material collection maintenance of the library program with the manager with the accountable officer of the library property with the disselect with the material with the with the withdrawal of the weeding, the assassination to improve the collection of the library, refill the relevant and meet with the information and new to the organization, deselection, continually collection of the maintenance of the process of the due to the absolute of the damage of the failure of the wear of the tear space limitation, core of the Army Regulation 25 of the 92 of the activity direct for the library program, management of the maintain of the collective of the development and profit to provide local policy guide for the criteria selection of the selection of the material of the library program, managed for the and over the accountable officer of the library property with a review of the deselect of the library material with the determined possible value of the research of the other organization of the job for the inventory accountable officer with a detailed catalog record with the evidence permanent with withdrawal of the collection of the library material with a historic interpretation before disposing of the library material with a particularly activity and active with the library program with a managed account for the office of the library property with a screen collection of the material with a historical value of the training for the companion history officer of the report items Army library program U.S. Army heritage with the education so with the historical with the main included with the regulation planning for the manual with the technical with the report today with the histories newspaper, the periodical, the personal paper, the manuscript, the diaries, of the other archive of the material, the guidance, the dealing with the aspect of the military operation history, with the procedure of the library closure, when the library is inactive, with the library program, and with the accountable officer of the library property, with the collection of the determined access of the library program for the possible use of the other organization, transfer of the accountable off to the library property, authorized with the transfer of the accessible library materials armed with the DOD with the federal agency to continue with the USDA Form 3161 request for the issue with the term of the DOD Form 1348-1A. Issue release, receive of the document with the title list of the file with the audit purpose of the donation of the municipal, the non-profit organization on the council with the library property authorized with the DOD with the Department of Defense manual with the 4160 with 21 Title 10 U.S. Stand Code 2572 with no cost of the government to do only with the books of the manuscript of the works of the art with the historical artifact with the drawing with the plane with the model with the condemned obsolete with the combat material with the following with the organization council officer with the library property the DA Form 3161 with the 1348-1A with the attach with the title of the list of the file of the audit. Purposes: municipal corporation, county with a public subdivision, state with an income with a state with a county with a regional with a library, shift with a library, support with a public elementary, secondary, higher education institute, service with a monument association with a serviceman with a monument, with a historical society with a historical institution, state with a foreign material with a nonprofit material with the aviation here with a foundation, associated incorporated with a state with the incorporated with a memorial with the operative with a maintain with a dedicated with the purposes only with a trial with a denial with the right to with the own operator with a profit. Post-veteran foreign war with the United States with the American Legion or unit, any of the recognized with the War Veteran Association, local with the National Union with the War Veterans Association, foreign nation with the recognized with the national with the government of the nation with the government one of the principal public subdivision with the nation, opposed to some of the reserves. Veterans Reserve. That's some thinking about museums. Okay. Oversee with the donation account with the office of the library, properly oversee with the library that may do not accept the library ministry with the non-historical with the education, the medical welfare institute with the United States with the host with the country with the U.S. Other U.S. allied country with the decision and concurrence with the defense with the logistics aid with the disposition serve with the Department of Defense Manual 416021. Defense of logistics aid with the disposition serve with the staff of the property maintained with the defense of the logistics aid with the disposition serve with the accountability officer with the item library with the property with the coordinator with the local supply officer refer to the DAL.mil, the DDSR with the backslash for more information, property exit with the term of the DA with the transfer with the service with the DA form 3161 and the DOD form 1348 1A with the edit of the title list with the file with the audit purpose of the defense with the logistic with the term of the disposition, service accountable officer with the library property coordinator with the local supply officer will refer to. Um, Once again, more obsolete, unserviceable material with the goals of the disposition method of the minimum of the need of the recycle of the discard of the material of the high with the necessary of the recycle of the discard of the following materials from with the use of the local option with the best meat with the library needs. Items need with the unsatisfied with the due of the mold, mildew with the poor with the physical condition, damage of the wear and fair wear and tear with the items need with the unserviceable, the obsolete item with the remain unclaimed with the officer with the other institutions, say with the library material, accountable with the library material with the non-sold with accepted with the wind transfer with the under with the control of the Department of Logistics Associate Agency disposition civilities fund military fund will not be imposed with the overdue with the material with the from the library local library circulation policy with the ensure with the prompt return with the property with the restitution policy with the customer trail to with the return see paragraph 210 with the return policy with the customer trail with the return materials. Installation, cleaning with the library, shift with the cleaning with the Army personnel with the library, with the local prescribe with the online manual process with the buy signal, initialing stamp with the DA form 137 with the 1, unit clearance, record with the DA form 137 with the 2 with the installation, clean with the record with the in-person with the clear with the library, one will leave with the do with the permanent chain with the safe with the retirement, the determination with the employment with the permanent department with the installation activity, expired, clearing Army personnel, own material with the presenting with the receipt with the bookstore with the other retailer, verifying when the suitable placement has been, or with the may be shipped with the director of the library program, the name of the accountable officer with the coordinator with the local clearinghouse with the authority with the developed strategy with the ensure with the department, Army personnel clear through with the library to reduce loss of the accountable library material with the commercial activity, the library with the operation with the contract with the accountable officer with the function with the train personnel authorized to serve with the accountable officer with the Army Regulation 7355 with the contract with the cannot provide perform the function of the crime with the personal check with the discretion with the determined government requirement selecting the authorized edition with the disposal of the library property Army Regulation 7355. References requires us in Section 2 with the related publication show with additional information for the user that does not read the understand of the publication unless they otherwise indicate with the publication of the Army Publishing Director of the Army Pub with the Army.mil with the DoD publication with the ESD WHF with the Mill United States Code CFR with the available with the gov.info.gov with the Army Regulation 100 Army Gift Program Army 11.2 with the Manager of the Internal Control Program Army 25.1 Army Information Technology Army 25.30 Army Publishing Program Army 25.97 with the Army Library Program, Army 25.422 with the Army Record Information Management System, Army 27.1 Judge Advocate Legal Service, Army 40.30 with the Medical Dental with the Veterinary Care, Army Reg. 40.61 Medical Logistic Policy, Army Regulation 165.1 Army Chaplain Corps Activity, Army 70.10 with the Supply Below Policy Below with the National Level, the Army 73.5 with the Property Accountability Policy with the Army 740.26 Physical Inventory Catalog, Army Regulation 870 870D5 with the Military Historic Responsibility Policy, proceed with the Army Regulation 870D20 with the Army Museum Historic Artifacts and Art, DA-PAM 25 with the 403 Guide to Record Keeping the Army, and DA Form 710.21 unit using unit supply system manual procedures. Let's look at the historic art ones. I'm going to highlight these ones and record keeping. DA Form PAM 710.22 supply support with the activity supply system of the manual proceed with the DA Form 735 with the property account with the proceed with the financial liability officer guide the DoD instruction 5000 or accountability management the DoD equipment of the account with property DoD instruction 5076 accountability management internal use of software. Department of Defense Manual 416021 Defensive Material the Disposition 41 CFR 102 with the 37 with the donate. So surplus of the personal property of the United States Government with the 25 with the 2 the document historical artifact that can be condemned with obsolete combat material with a loan gift of exchange, and the definition of records Title 44 U.S. Standard Code 3301. Alright, prescribe the form for the section contained with the no entry for the DA, except with the other web, with the DA form with available with the Army Publishing with the website, with the Army Pub with the Army Mill, the DO forms, ESD with the WHF with the mill. We have the internal control evaluation certification unit clearance record with the installation clearance record with the recommending chamber with the publication blank 4 with the requisite. So this issue with the turn in with the chamber with the cash collection voucher for the cash collection voucher for the issue with the receipt of the document. Army B library property account with the library property counting number the U with the table to be one with the library property counting with the number to determine the library has assigned with the end and the account with the number to how the library is listed to the library for the alphabetical order with the by state oversee with the library for all the state list. So we move to Georgia. We have Georgia Woodworth Library with the Fort Gordon AMC with the General counting number L361. Woodworth Library with the Fort Gordon Georgia AMC with the General 1361. Hayes Library with Fort Stewart Georgia the AMC with the General with L3121. Georgia Mill E Long Library Fort Benning Georgia Army Material Command General with L321. Georgia Cyber Research Center with the Cyber Center of the Excellence Fort Gordon Georgia the Trade Act with the Academic with the L3 with the 181. Georgia Donovan Research Live with the Maneuver Center with the Excellence with the Fort Benning with the Georgia with the Trade Act Academic L3 with the 23. Georgia the Defense Forensic Science Library with the DeForest Park Georgia with the Army Criminal Investigation Command with the Technical L3 17-2. Alright, and then keep this, there's the chart goes on. Internal control evaluation, we'll skip that. We'll highlight, does the library, this is for comments, and this is the one you need to know. So, we have glossary and definitions, unclassified. This was Army Regulation 735, 17 with the property accountable library materials.